Welcome to Tales from the World's Firesides. I'm Clive Gilson, the story guy as ever, and today our journey takes us to England. Now, as I said before, I think as a storyteller I try to find and preserve old folk and fairy tales that might otherwise be lost or forgotten. And it's also a way, I think, of sharing cultures across the world now that there's more than 100,000 of you subscribing to the channel, which is brilliant. Thank you. Today's story comes from a book called Folklore and Legends of the English, a late-Victorian anthology edited by Charles John Tibbits. So, without any further ado, let's get on with the story. Long ago, back in the days when stories insisted that strange things happened all the time, the devil himself was known to wander around in plain sight, causing bother wherever he fancied. There's no smoke, no secret whispers, just strolling into town like he owned the place. So one day he turned up in a tiny little town and decided he would stay a while and have some fun. By fun, of course, he meant trouble. But here was the thing. For whatever reason, the townsfolk did not play along. Maybe they were too decent to fall for his tricks. Maybe they were worse than he expected and out-cheated the cheater. Either way, the devil ended up furious, properly raging, and when the devil got angry, he did not just slam a door and sulk, he threatened revenge. He basically said, "You will regret this. I will punish you in a way you will never forget." Then off he flew in a storm, leaving the whole town staring at one another like, well, that was it then. They were doomed. Naturally, they called a big town meeting. Everyone was invited, young and old, and all crammed into the hall to argue about what to do next. The only people not invited were the ones too ill to come, too old to walk, and rather rudely, anyone considered foolish. And they argued, and they argued, and they argued. Then, right in the middle of it, a man burst in, out of breath, eyes wide, and shouted that he had seen the devil coming back. And not only had he been coming back, he had been carrying a stone so enormous it looked like he planned to drop it on the town and flatten the lot of them. The only good news was the rock had been so heavy it slowed him down. The councillors panicked. Nobody had a plan. They all talked at once, and then from the back of the crowd a poor cobbler stepped forward. Now they had not invited him, because again rather cruelly, the town had decided that he had been only half-witted. But he looked around at all these important people wringing their hands and said calmly, "I would go and meet him. I would stop him." The room erupted. "You stop him," they cried. "You must be mad." But the cobbler just shrugged. "I was going anyway." And he left. Now here was where the story starts to get really good. The cobbler went round collecting as many old boots and shoes as he could find. Scraps, worn soles, torn leather, the kind of shoes that looked like they had been through a war. He bundled them all up, found the man who spotted the devil, got directions, and set off down the road. He walked for ages until, at last, he found the devil. And the devil was sitting by the roadside, sweating, exhausted, trying to cool down, with this gigantic rock lying beside him. He looked absolutely fed up with the whole business. The devil saw the cobbler and asked, "Did you know the town I was heading to?" And he named it. "Oh, yes," said the cobbler, I do. In fact, I've just come from there." The devil's eyes narrowed. "And how long has it taken you to get here?" And the cobbler went very casually, Days. Then he opened his bundle, and he started showing the devil the shoes. "Do you see these?" he said. "I wore these out on the road, and these, and these, and these." And pair after battered pair, shredded, full of holes, absolutely tragic, were put on the roadside by the devil. The devil stared at them, genuinely shocked. He looked down the road, then he looked at the rock. Then he looked back at the pile of ruined footwear, and you could almost see the calculation happening in his head. He had imagined the town had been close. It would be a quick job, easy revenge. But if it had been that far, well. He sighed, he grumbled, and he said, "If it was nearer, it would have been worth it. But this This is too much effort. And with that, he picked up the huge rock, flung it into a nearby field like he was tossing aside a nuisance, and trudged back the way he'd come. No revenge, no flattened town, no grand punishment. Just the devil, defeated by a bag of old shoes. The cobbler walked back to town and told everyone what he had done. And suddenly the man they had called half-witted was the cleverest person in the place. They cheered him, they laughed, they admired the joke of him. And to be fair to them, they made sure he did not lose out for missing a day's work. Which was only right, because if you had just saved an entire town by outsmarting the devil with a bundle of knackered boots, you'd earned your supper. And so that's the end of the story, How the Cobbler Cheated the Devil. Stories like this, I think, remind, certainly me, hopefully many of us, that people have always found ways to tell stories that touch our hearts, that educate us, and fill us full of wonder and sorrow sometimes as well. Now, you can explore all of the collections that I've put together over the years, from the Caribbean to the Philippines to Zanzibar. They're all available in print and digital form. You can find them in any good bookstore, or certainly order them, and you can find them on places like Amazon. There's a link at the bottom of the screen. If you're curious about the storyteller behind the mic, then drop by clivegilson.com. I'm always happy to connect. And if today's tale stirred something in you, do subscribe. Share your thoughts below and pass the story along to your friends. Thank you, though, as ever, for joining me at Tales from the World's Firesides. I'm Clive Gilson, the Story Guy. Until next time, stay well and keep the stories burning brightly.